We are personable. We're not personal. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that is why.
Why what?
I feel like Karen shifted.
I did it.
I like this kind of. This really sums it up for us, doesn't it?
Why? Because I'm wearing red?
Yeah, but also I feel like you have really good gauntlets in your hands.
You're the chaos one. So if anything, this is
But the tree of life. In the tree of life, I have many stems. I have many branches. Lots of roots.
And you're the only one that can create life. Of the two of us.
That is very true. Why we gotta be yucky?
Welcome. This is Blood and Banter. I'm Cohen.
Oh, Corinne.
I beat you to it. So, self-love. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. I thought it was nice because of our previous video, depending on the organization, we just did a video and I mentioned self-love and different angles you can take on that. So this is where we're going to go.
What is self-love? What does that mean?
Self-love to me, unlike what it means to my loving brother here, is more of an emotional support system for yourself. So, avoiding any external sources in your life, this is what you view yourself as internally. So for me, I would like to say that I would like to wake up positively. If I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, as some would say, I try to give me 3 pointers of positive vibes so I can at least feed off of that for the remainder of the day until something else positive happens to me. I would like to remind
everyone... It's almost like you're trying to say self-love is a continuous and evolving effort.
Yeah, living is effort, okay? It's not easy breezy living.
Living is effort. Corinne Donovan, 2025.
Living requires a lot of calories, so we gotta have food. I would like to remind everyone who is tuning in for the first time that we are not legal doctors, nor do we have anything. We don't know what we're talking about. We're just siblings that like to banter.
What's a legal doctor?
I don't know. Haven't seen one.
Okay.
I'm joking. So, I would like to start us off on personal goals. So, I touched about it.
So, personal goals fitting into the idea of self-love. So, just to be clear, you're describing self-love as what?
I like to say self-love to me, of course as an umbrella term, self-love is that for me it is waking up and having mini goals. Looking to yourself.
Why does that make it more loving? Why does that fit into it? Because when I envision self-love, it means like I look in the mirror and say, "You're fucking hot."
That's a goal. That's
a goal. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna retract what I said. I personally give myself goals so I feel like I've done something, so which is self-gratifying in a sense of, I'm sure you've talked many of self-gratification, but for me, having goals and reaching my goals is very self-gratifying, which gives me some self-worth. So I like to give myself goals every day so I can reach them and feel good about myself. And internally, excluding anything that's externally affecting your life, having internal love is how you can grow as a person and then flourish and change a little bit.
So you're viewing self-love as a medium for self-actualization.
Yes, that's a good point.
Fucking nerd.
Well, because you can't. Having a reason to live is good, and waking up and not really having a reason to live, I don't really know how that works. I'm sure many people have. You wake up and you're like, I'm alive.
Okay,
good.
So the plot thickens a little here. So self-love being not only to love thyself, but also to endure.
Huh?
To endure.
Endure, yeah. Because, I'm not saying that having goals every day needs to be, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. It's more about, I'll wake up and get out of bed. Or I decide today I'm going to, bed rot. It's the goals that you need during that day, and then you complete them, there you go.
And then accepting it.
Yeah. And it's
interesting.
Yeah.
So how do goals fall into the self-love?
Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
I did it.
I need to.
Got him.
Got him. I feel like, for me personally, I don't speak for everyone. I speak for the 5%.
Speak up for the camera.
I speak up for the camera. I speak for the 5% that I represent. T-shirt. So.
Rich piano. I mean. 1%, 7%.
Having goals for yourself gives you reason to keep going, and I feel like if you have kind of a stale or stationary point in your life, you're going to fall into either a numb or mundane cycle, and then that causes some mental health problems. I know a lot of people that are either stuck in a rut or stuck in a situation that they can't overcome, and they become depressed or mentally withdrawn or having a lot of things. So having mini goals that you can achieve is giving yourself some motivation to think bigger, continue adding to the list of things that you've achieved. Say you haven't showered, because mental illness runs rampant in your 20s and your early 30s. It happens. So I know a lot of people that they haven't showered for 4 or 3 days, and they said, all right, I'm going to shower today, and they reached it. There you go. You got a goal. What's another goal you can reach? What's another small thing that you can get out of bed? That's a goal reached. You showered. That's a goal reached. You showed up on work on time. Goal reached. You had your breakfast and you are hydrated. Goal reached.
Goals do permeate the fabric of all of human existence. Ooh, sit with that quote for a moment.
I like that.
So I can support your statement and my statement
Yeah.
with a lot of examples.
Yeah.
Religion is based upon goals.
Oh, 100%.
What is the ultimate goal of religion? Absolution.
I have no idea.
Absolution.
Oh, absolution.
You want to reach I guess you can say acceptance of a deity or God.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you want to reach nirvana.
Yeah.
So that's a goal.
Yeah.
You can also say that most of our tenets in life do hinge upon goals. You go to school not for its own sake. You go to school for the next thing.
Exactly.
So where people run into issues and where this is why I think self-love as a topic for today is super important.
It is.
If we grind for its own sake, we run into walls, and the only thing that we have left is dust.
Exactly. And that's actually, I'm going to feed off of that a little bit, because if you are working for someone else, then there's no point in working. Because if you aren't part of the work, then you're not going to be part of the solution. So if you're going to be working in a situation that only satisfies or gratifies someone else, then when it comes to the final or the finalization of the situation, then you don't get anything out of it, and then you're just cease to exist.
So that's where the fun thing is, because you can actually invent your own reasons and goals for things.
Exactly. That's my fun thing.
You can just try to dismantle the argument for goals and saying that doing a task is a way to develop self-love and therefore a quality of life. We can use the slaves in Egypt.
Well,
they were dragging stones all over. No, not really.
Okay.
It's a step back.
No.
It is reasonable to say that the slaves of Egypt lived an entire life. Some died early, some died later.
Yes. Some forced, some accidental.
All of them forced to do some kind of thing that they didn't want to do.
I meant forced death. They
were
buried with their pharaoh or whatever.
And I'm kind of sticking with a loose religious thing and I'm not peddling anything, I'm just using it as a good anchor. In particular, a ethnic group, the Jews, were used as labor for the building of the pyramids.
Unfortunate.
But what really carried them through those hundreds of years of servitude? Question.
Oh, prayer and a reason for an end.
Exactly. So the covenant that they kept, the goal was to reach a point that they can see at the table of God or within blah blah blah. So it was a overarching goal. Whether you believe in it or not, having a goal, if it's meaningful enough to you, you can literally move mountains. And that's how I tie it back to the pyramids. They had a reason for living that was strong enough that they can endure hundreds of years of servitude. On its face, if your life is dedicated to just moving stones, a lot of people would just look at that and, well, fuck it, and then just end their life.
Yeah.
But if you stack on top of that goals, just like you put a moment ago, suddenly the meaninglessness of it all becomes a lot more profound. Boom. So that's why goals matter. So what's next?
Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit because this didn't really go cohesively. But anyway.
Neither did the stones.
In a previous video, I touched a little bit on body dysmorphia. So I would like to brush more on that factor, because we are talking about, I know we talked hard on goals and religion, but the grand episode is actually called self-love. So I know I have suffered quite a bit on on body dysmorphia. Have you ever suffered from it? Yeah. A little bit?
We're going from a karate setting. You're very lean, very athletic. To
very fancy.
Yep. Then the COVID, where you gained a few pounds because your whole life changes, and then you go to a strength sport and you're trying to figure out how to eat properly. You see really crazy, cool strength gains. So I've gone through I don't know if it would be classified as dysmorphic, because I looked at it and was like, cool. I want to see a little bit different of this, and then I just do it.
The clinical definition of body dysmorphia, or body dysmorphic disorder, is a mental health condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about flaws in their appearance. These flaws are often unnoticeable to others. And then people of any age can have BDD, but it's most common in teenagers and young adults. Which, I will add on to this, there's another mental illness that I'll talk about, is body, what is it called? There's body dysmorphia, and it feeds into gender dysphoria, while both related to body image and distress and distinct conditions.
Interesting. Body dysmorphia and gender dysphoria. So the misrepresentation of a gender to, what is dysphoria?
So from what I understand, because I suffer from body dysmorphia many a times, I know when talking to people who are transitioning into another gender or dealing with the hormonal changes, I know that the dysphoria comes from the sense of you do not fit into the specific gender identity of that specific gender. So for me, growing up within the early 2000s, I did not fit that nice stick figure. I had hips, I had shoulders, I had big thighs. I did not have like that nice lean. So I had the gender dysphoria of I don't fit this idea of gender. Also, I'm kind of obviously not super feminine. I am very feminine, but I'm not the pinnacle of feminine identity, so that is also leans into it.
So you're saying that
they're sisters, they're not twins.
So people can have a difficult time with their sexual identity.
Yeah.
While also having a difficult time with the representation of what that gender or sexual identity should or could look like.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And this happens, you do not have to be a person of this transition identity. You can be a born cis, want to be cis, but you also could suffer from the gender dysphoria due to the fact of harsh gender roles. And this happened because I am born cis, I identify as a cis female, I am of the cis community, but looking at what femininity has, like pronounced breasts and specific hips and a certain width of shoulder and long torso, there's a lot of, throughout the years, female identity and female idealization has changed. So many of the times when I'm looking at what is fashionable or what is in trend of the body image, I have never fit. So it really screws with me as a cis woman. I don't know where I am. So that both feeds into my gender dysphoria of, am I truly a woman? Because I do not look like these women that are being idolized. But there's also the body dysmorphia of, oh God, there's a lot wrong with me. Where do I fix?
So one could say you need a cis stance with your identity?
Ha ha ha. Love it. Love it. So I know a lot of men who suffer from this, because I'm sure in the early 2000s there has also been the male equivalent of the body dysmorphia trend of not having hard abs, not being tall or lean. We've had that.
Not being tall enough.
Oh, Rap Boys Summer, where the skinny boys were getting their validation, but also really screwed into the wind of all the other ones. Early male balding.
Interestingly, that doesn't make any difference when it comes to attractiveness.
No, absolutely not.
So it's there's a few groups that have done a little bit of deep dive into that.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
as you lose hair into early male balding,
early
stage male balding, however that acronym
I have no
goes,
idea how that goes.
it evidently, as long as it's paired with a decent sense of self-efficacy, you don't actually have any problem with dating or relationship building.
Again, oh my gosh, I love that. We're going to talk about this later, but self-worth is very key on attracting.
Let's talk about it now. Self-worth. self-worth.
No. We're going to talk about more about body dysmorphia.
Okay.
Unless you have anything else to talk about.
Nothing to add.
I know when growing up as a woman in a small community and having those early 2000s harsh realities that being more heavier or being larger or being, I guess, proactive in hormones or having a different change in hormones compared to your classmates, it vastly changes your social identity, especially when you're known as the fat friend or the loud fat friend or the smelly friend or what have you. During hormone changes, that is also a thing. And in previous videos, we've talked about when you're going from athlete to pregnant mother to early mother to whatever. I know a lot of women have postpartum body dysmorphia due to the fact that your body has changed. You're now bringing life into the world. Your body shifted.
Wild. That would be so
It's gotta be rough. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Damn, that would be.
Because some women go from super skinny, light on the scale, and then they gain that mother weight. I call it mother weight. They gain the mummy pounds, and then when they have the child, it's gonna be hard for them to lose the weight because one, before baby, they're probably on birth control or like some contraceptive that affects their hormones. They go off it, get pregnant, more hormones. Postpartum, whatever you decide, formula breastfeeding, more hormones. And then you just have that with you. And it's just, hormones really change your body. And then sometimes you can't bounce back to your previous pre-baby body. Pre-making baby body. Prepartum, and then you're just kind of, this is me now. How do I deal with it? And most times it's a beautiful situation where your body has changed, but a lot of women suffer from it.
Well, we've identified that they suffer from it, but like, what do we do about it?
I think either seeking someone else, having an external support system.
It's leading to self-worth.
Okay, self-worth.
I was giving you a segue.
Self-worth.
There we go.
Moving on. So having an idea of yourself when dealing with self-worth is a very key thing when you're moving on. Because again, we touched on mental health, we touched on depression and having you're hitting a wall, not really sure where you're going. And then when you're dealing with either self-worth, bodily worth, social worth, you have to feed on what you were given just so you can rearrange it to make it better.
Well, we can expand on that because, like, the reason we're using self-worth as an antidote to your body from any kind of dysphoria or dysmorphia or very loosely here, we're saying self-worth can be a tool in this because your sense of identity isn't 100% wrapped up into one concept.
Exactly.
Or
there's many moving parts into this.
I've alluded to something like this before. Like going from my identity being a sport to my identity being a degree to my identity being a job.
Yes.
After all of that, if I remove all of those layers off of myself, who am I? Or who are you? So it's extremely important because you need to have that unassailable anchor in your soul to which can weather any storm that hits you. Chew on that for a moment. I didn't even rehearse that.
I like to identify myself, if you take away all my hobbies and my social standings or whatever, I like to present myself as a wanderer.
Wanderer or
no,
wanderer?
Wanderer.
I feel like that's the same. Is that spelled the same way? Wanderer and wanderer?
One has an A and one has an O.
I don't think that's right. Type that in.
Hang on, folks.
No, I gotta find this out. Did I just realize wanderer and wanderer are the same word?
Nope.
What? Wander and wander.
Yeah, so a wanderer is someone who likes to travel, and a wanderer is someone who is curious. So I like to say I'm curious, I'm a wanderer, I'm a thinker. I like to develop a sense of understanding of things. My father likes to say this, I am wise, but I'm not intelligent because I make a lot of mistakes, but I learn from them. So I am wise, but I have a low intelligent. Because when you're intelligent, you know what's going on automatically, you're prepped, you're planned, whatever. A wise person learns from their mistakes, learns from the mistakes of others, and they learn via experience.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
I
I'm
a
wanderer.
That's like the word similarity, like adduction and abduction.
Oh, don't even talk about that. Yeah.
So to bring it back to the reason we're using self, was it a sense of self or self identity or
self-love?
No.
What are you talking about?
I know that's the overword.
Sorry.
Self-worth.
Self-worth.
We're using self-worth as an anecdote for
Yes.
your internal struggle. The change in which you, the difference between what you perceive inside versus what others see you as. So, in essence, you can think of it like, to combat your issues with self-love, you must develop the part of you that operates in the dark.
Yes.
Who are you behind closed doors and when no one's around?
What's your word? Mine's wonder. What's your word? We'll sit on this. Stay tuned.
Give me a minute.
No, yeah.
Give me a minute.
While you're thinking about that,
No, you're gonna give me a second. What's my word for my sense of self?
Yeah, what's your word? When you peel back all your layers, my little onion brother, what are you? I've thought long and hard in the dark about mine, so that's why I had that off the top.
Push.
Ooh.
Pusher? If you want one.
Pushover? What are you?
No, if you want one word, I think push.
Adjective. That's your adjective?
It's very action oriented. Because I think that it would be reasonable. Because I was given exactly the amount of time that you've asked me this question to develop that word. So
Pin it. Well, that's the next one.
No, I'm going to support my statement because you asked a really deep question. Push because it is action oriented, which is something that I value.
Yes.
Push in the sense of through, push up. I don't go around things very well.
No.
I'm not.
Pull through or push through.
I am not a beat around the bush kind of guy. Otherwise, I would say avoid. But I'm definitely not an avoid.
You really get it.
Yeah, like I aim to solve things. I aim to find. I aim to push.
I like it.
There you go.
There you go.
You ain't putting no pin in it. The pin's out now because it was fucking answered.
So I'm gonna steal
push.
I'm gonna steal one of the things that you mentioned based on how people perceive you.
Okay.
And going from self-worth or self-love, you have to surround yourself with the things that support you internally and externally. So whether it be you have to have a proper friend group, work in a place that you enjoy,
you
or
are
having
who you surround yourself with.
Exactly. Oh, love that. You are who you surround yourself. So when it comes to self-love, you really need to decide if you want to surround yourself with people who want you to be a specific thing that either mirrors them or mirrors the way that you should be standing, or you want to be your true self. And I know when I, aged, and I've had many friend groups, so I always, originally, when I had low self-esteem and low self-worth, I always surrounded myself with the people that I wanted to be. And then I never fit that, so I always felt left out. I was always the tertiary friend, as I like to say. Tertiary. I was always the one not in the group chat, not worth being called for parties, not invited to gatherings or campouts or whatever. I was always the situational friend or the proximity friend to many people.
They need a hand.
They need a hand. Oh, or you conveniently have a car, so can you pick me up at this party that you weren't invited to?
Yeah, pick me up and drop me off.
Oh, that was a common thing in growing up. Like, can
you? Did you pick them up?
Listen. This only happened a few times, and I started asking to get paid for gas, and then I got thrown out to the wolves. But anyway, it's a good response. Like, I'm using my parents' car. Can you give me some cash? No, apparently not. That's not an issue. But anyway, so when I started developing, oddly enough during COVID, when I started developing my self-worth and my identity renewal, I guess, I surrounded myself with the people that actually I want to be with, and I want to identify with, and I want to have them mirror what I'm producing. So I'm a lot happier because of that. And I know myself more now. So I have a primary and a secondary friend. I am still a secondary friend to many people, but I am also a primary to the people that matter. So.
Well, I think that we can really dial in
Yes.
the point of the changing of social environments.
Yes.
Because the paint on this wall right here is kind of beigey, kind of skin, a really pasty skin tone.
Yeah. Palm color, as I heard on the social.
What was it?
I heard this
palm color?
I heard this on social media. It's called palm color,
okay.
And that's referring to white people. But I'm obsessed with it, so I love it.
Your palm.
I'm very
your palm.
Oh well.
So there's like 6 or 7 different kind of pigments in this. There's a little bit of black pigment. There's a little bit of maybe some red in there.
Definitely red, yeah.
Do we call this a black wall?
And a blue. Yeah.
Do we call this a black wall?
No.
Or do we call this a blue wall?
No.
We call it the culmination of all the pigments
Mm-hmm.
that created this hue.
The primary colors.
So, if you want to be living a life as a palm-colored wall, then surround yourself with the pigments in which it combines into that.
Yes.
Or if you want to become a beige wall,
Mm-hmm.
shift your social environments towards that. Or surround yourself with those kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the point you were also trying to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now what?
Now, physical changes. So we kind of touched on that for many reasons. If you're not loving yourself or you're not finding the self-gratification that you desire, shift it, either in a physical sense or emotional sense. So in this case, if you feel like you're not meeting your true self, do something else. Like if it doesn't match what you're training. If you're in sports and you're not training, shift it a little bit. Change what you're doing to get that gratification.
Is it
Or
situational or physical change? Do you want... So you're thinking social and then situational, and sounds like you're talking situational.
I'm kind of just feeding off of everything. So when we're talking about like a situational, I stem that from on my notes. We're referring to my notes that I made very quickly. So the changes socially, as said onto my notes, I wanted to kind of be more of an emotional, very situational situation, and I gave you an example for friends.
Situation.
You catch me. But then when it comes to changing physical changes, I want to like remove yourself from a situation that makes you feel like shit. So work or training or
It is so easier said than done, though, man.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So
Because hey, if you're in a situation where you can't live where you're currently living, obviously you can't just pick up and go.
Live the way you want to live.
Live the way you want to live, or the one that is now causing you, like if you're in a bad home life, or you're living in a location that sucks, or if something that you're living within
if
is
you're giving
draining
your
you,
time away for free and not having the opportunities to do
Exactly.
the things you want to do.
Exactly. Then it kind of is feeding off of you emotionally, physically, and all that. So you just physically remove yourself from that situation, like move out, break your lease or whatever. Again,
And this shit falls into self-love real good.
It does,
We're
because-
talking personal growth.
Exactly.
We're talking identifying the differences between your actual situation versus the way you're perceiving it.
Yeah.
Then we're talking about social situations and then changing their situation.
exactly.
My God, because
Ba.
we are the slaves to our situations a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If we're working a job in which we feel we cannot get out and it is not paying us what we feel we are owed, and we take that job. Now, this is pretty broad, of course, because not everybody has the skills or the confidence or the ability to climb, or even the desire.
Exactly.
I've mentioned this before. You don't
Yeah.
have to be ambitious.
No.
But you do need to have a sense of self-efficacy or love or any of that to say, cool, I'm not getting what I'm owed and it's not moving me in a direction that I want to be in. I shall choose the next right move to move me towards that. That's an ultimate form of self-love. And so is masturbating. So please...
Alright, move from that. Thankfully, I'm in a career and I have an employer and all that does give me that boost and the self-support that I need to continue on to my career and set goals for myself in that standpoint. But I'm sure both of us have been in a situation where we work somewhere that we are grinding ourselves into a powder and there's nowhere that you were going to go.
Well, yeah, like you can lean right back towards the pyramid example, right? They were doing all the things that they were doing, and had an overarching goal that was bigger than the thing they were doing. Parenthood falls into that too.
Exactly.
Raising a kid fucking sucks. There's a lot of reasons why raising a kid is not a good time.
No.
But the overarching motivation and why behind that, leading back to our previous discussion about goals and why, makes it so that crazy and impossible things are suddenly possible.
Exactly.
So you have to combine the self-worth, situations, social environments. Oh my God, if we use the kid as an example, if you're in a fucked up social situation, if you don't have friends or you don't have family and it's just you and you're around people that are making your life worse, like an example would be drug abuse. An example
Sure.
would be emotional abuse. Those would fit.
Being a tertiary friend.
A tertiary friend, which is an example of emotional abuse.
There you go. Yeah.
Or emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
Or transaction, or whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
transactional probably. But you don't even get anything out of it. So it's just like you're giving your money to an endless void.
It's just actional, not trans.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So the overarching point that we're trying to get to is self-love is a path to walk and should be walked because it leads to a better life.
Mm-hmm.
And there is probably nothing that I think that this whole episode, there's probably nothing more important that this episode should convey other than you should live a good life.
Exactly. Live the life that you deserve, not the one that you think you deserve.
Or is bestowed.
Exactly.
So.
With that, I'm Corinne.
And I'm Colin. Go the fuck to sleep.
Bye-bye.